in the last few weeks on Empower about how our goal is about connecting. It's about connection and not perfection. So I love that, because how many of us are like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do this presentation, or I can't talk to prospects because I don't have it polished. It's not perfect. But when we step back and say it's not about perfection, it's about connection, and especially now, people want to be connected with. So does anyone want to chat a little bit about how they connect with their prospects?
Well, I'll just say that kind of ties in with Kai said on Monday. You've got to be interested in people and get them to lean forward. And if you ask questions about them, they inevitably ask questions about you. And that kind of gives us permission, to go forward. But I love what you just said. I love poetry, and, I love things that rhyme, and it's about connection. What did you say? No, I forgot
Connection,
already.
Not perfection.
Connection, not perfection. I've also heard perfection is the enemy of progress.
Well, speaking of that, one of the brave things that he was taught to do was to talk to the last 5 people who said no, and then ask them why they said no.
That was a scary thought, wasn't it?
Right? That's what I had.
Yeah.
So, you the whole idea is that you do keep practicing, and you're going to get more familiar. You're going to get better, which is what I think the motto of our team is: getting better and better. Mm-hmm. So, be willing to go into the uncomfort zone by asking questions so that you can get feedback and learn. Yeah. I like that.
Well, Helen is one of my best femtors right there, my dear friend Helen. I love when Helen taught me that when you start sharing this and someone says no, they say no right away, that Helen very gently, with the palms open, holographic group had palms open, open heart. Can you tell me what you're saying no to? I don't understand what you're saying no to. Because they may be like, no network marketing, or no, I don't have money, or, to like lean in and just very gently. You have to be careful how you say it. You don't want to say, what are you saying no to? But just, may I ask, what? I just want to understand what you're saying no to. That's a way to make a connection with someone.
Mm-hmm. My favorite line when that happens is, help me understand.
Help me understand.
That's a good one.
It's just a really neutral way to connect with people. And just, because you really want to understand. I really want to help me understand what it is that you're saying no to. Yeah. And years ago, someone in network marketing used this line and says, at least see what you're saying no to before you say no.
Yeah.
And so there's a 3-minute video, just check it out and see what you're saying no to before you. And so just keeping it non-judgmental, really, neutral, because that's where our power's from, is in the neutrality, not in the reaction. Yeah. And when people really get that you want to understand, that's the relationship. I really want to understand, because this helps me. Yeah, that's great.
So that goes to Robin, the relatability. So Ty, they rhyme. Ty was talking about the balance between relatability and credibility. Mm-hmm. So, relatability is what we've been talking about. Can people relate to you and connect with you? Are you a real person with real struggles? That, like for me, I could say, I've tried network marketing for the last, since the late 80s. And this is the first time I'm having, this much success, this much fun, this much sense of community, this much support. And, and if I'm relating to someone who's like, oh, I've done network marketing, that doesn't work. I can be very relatable. And then credibility is the products, the company, and you, are you trustworthy? That's the credibility piece. And boy, don't we have relatable and credible leaders here, and Robin and Gregory and Helen and Tim. Great, wonderful people that we can relate
David,
to.
Oh my gosh.
And David.
I was rewatching the webinar last night, and I was just feeling so grateful, that he does such a magnificent job. I mean, think of all the presentations he does and what it takes to create those in a way that takes complex science and relates it to, I mean, a lot of what he shared is relatable to the average person. And a bunch of it was a bit, over my head, but it didn't matter. I still got it. I don't know if you guys had that same experience.
I did.
Whoa, it was really amazing. I can't quite repeat what he said, but it felt good, and I get it, and it's like I trust and respect, and he just hit so many points for people to establish that credibility beautifully.
And
It's
his,
also amazing to me that he can do all of the things that Ty was talking about, even though it's that material. I mean, it's a little hard to get emotional about words, this long that you don't even know what they mean. So a lot of it was robbed because it's scientific information, but he can still keep you engaged, and you can go, well, I really don't know what that meant, but I get this pinpoint, and you can make it so you could understand, even though it was so difficult.
Yeah.
And I got from Ty that whole relatable thing through questions. It's all coming together with Dr. Can last night.
Oh yeah.
She was
Wasn't she great?
So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So why don't you guys do a plug for that one when it comes out, so everybody watches that one?
Totally.
Helen and Tim, did you watch last night, Dr.?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I watched in the afternoon. It was fabulous.
And Wendy, you watched.
Yeah.
Can't hear you, Wendy. So I went
Yes, I watched the early one.
Oh, you watched the other one. What'd
Yeah,
you think?
she was awesome. I
Wendy
couldn't get
and I
into
were
the
on
early one.
together, and Michelle.
Yeah, I watched the early one too.
And she did mention her chart and showed her chart, and it's in unit 12. She got it, she sent it to me early on. We exchanged things, and I had sent her the webinar the other day. She was very grateful for that. So it's wonderful that we work together as business cousins, as Helen says.
Yeah.
Let's get back to Ty and storytelling, because you're doing such a beautiful job, Michelle.
Well, thank you. So another point that Ty made was you don't retell a story, you relive a story. So when you're fully, and whether it's your story or a story you've heard, create curiosity by asking you focused questions, and then you help your prospect, you put them in the scene. So you might say, imagine being here, and like imagine if you yourself, you're talking to a prospect, imagine, imagine being, waking up every morning with pain, or not being able to get through the day. I just didn't have the energy. Have you ever been there? So that's the pulling them in. Have you ever been there? Have you ever not been able to get out of bed? So you're drawing them in, and then saying things like, can you imagine, or have you felt that way? So you don't just I get the feeling you don't just, as Dr. Can said, you don't just vomit all over the person, you want to, and that's another thing I can tie into Ty. Ty didn't talk about the length of the story, but, but Dr. Can said, 45 seconds about. So yeah. I think if you're relating to the person though, it can go longer. Like you can start talking and they'd say, have you ever been there? Or do you know what I mean? Have you ever not been able to get out of bed in the morning or get through the day without a cup of coffee at 3:00? So you're bringing them in. And then he talks about, Ty talked about an influential story is struggle to solution. When you go to a movie or you read a book, there always is that conflict, that struggle. So that's, and if you can be as personal as possible, because what's most personal is most universal. So, whether it's about the business or the product, you might say, regarding the business, since this is a business call right now or chat, you might say, oh, with COVID and I can say this. I'll tell you my story. So I do body work. I do massage and healing and energy healing. And I got shut down. I showed up at work on March 20th and the door was locked, and I opened the door and I come in and one of the therapists says, we're closed. I said, what? She said, didn't you get the email from the governor? I'm like, no, when did that come in? She said, oh, last night. And so I was closed for 6 weeks. And thank God for Lifewave, because I could continue to do my business from home, and I could continue to relate to people and even call my clients and say, there's this wonderful gift. And So sharing your struggle and then your, where you were, what you did, and where you are now. You can apply that threefold process to product or business. So,
Beautiful.
anyone,
I was just curious if anyone else had listened that wanted to share something.
yes, please.
Who
Yeah.
else might have listened that got something from Ty?
One thing that fit in with where she's at now, he said that if the struggle is relatable, the solution is credible. So if you're like an astronaut talking about that, no one's gonna hook in because they're like, but like the virus shutting you down, very relatable. Another piece that I thought was awesome, he said, get rid of unnecessary details. If it's not necessary to say, it becomes necessary not to say it. Which is how I guess you cut things down to 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Because I have not been able to do that yet. I'm working on it. So he's awesome.
Kira, did you get to listen to the Ty Bennett yet? No, not yet.
Not to tie, but Dr. Can, yes.
Okay.
That was awesome.
How are you doing with telling your story? I know you're starting to really talk to customers and get some customers.
I am, but I'm going to revise it after listening to Dr. Can. I need to get it down to 45 seconds.
By the way, beautiful background, Kira. I like your background.
That's Sedona.
Oh, that's
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
So another thing Ty shared was using dialogue. It makes it more interesting rather than just using a narration, but actually, I got a call from my mom, and I can say this. My mom sent me a text. I think I shared it months ago. My mom went to a battle with cancer, and she got on the X39, and after just 3 or 4 days, she texted me, and I read the text on one of our calls, Robin, remember? Because everyone had tears in their eyes. And my mom sent me a text, and I read the text on the call, and I've shared that with people, and that was so personal and so relatable. My mom said, "Dear genius firstborn," that's what she called me. She calls me her genius firstborn. And thank you so much for turning me on to the X39, and I have less pain, and I'm healed. That was after like 3 or 4 days. She sent me this beautiful text that just, so that's actually a quote, right? So Ty was saying you can quote people. It just brings more life, and people can relate more. Anybody else want to share anything about Ty or storytelling or?
Was it Ty who said that there's scientific proof about stories? Yeah.
Yes, Robin. Thank you for saying that. I can refresh everyone on that one because those that haven't heard it. So Ty said that there is actually research that shows that when you hear a story, that's right. When you hear a story, the person who's hearing it, it triggers both a release of cortisol and oxytocin. Now, cortisol, everyone is familiar with, is the fight or flight hormone. So it's like, well, why would that be a good thing? Well, it's because a little bit of cortisol is good because it's making you focus and engage. As soon as someone starts telling a story, the cortisol gets elicited in the listener, and they're focused. And then the oxytocin, that's the hormone I heard about when I was a new mama. You remember that one, Helen, probably. In women who are bonding with their babies or breastfeeding, there's a release of oxytocin. And so oxytocin is the trust hormone. It causes someone to, start to lean in and trust you. That's actually released, and it engages both sides of the brain. So, and the other thing that I learned in listening to Ty is that stories are remembered 500% more than facts and figures. And don't we know that? I mean, we've heard so many beautiful testimonials, and we'll share. There was the dog, there was Starsky, right? Everyone knows the Starsky story. Stories are remembered. But as far as what David was saying, well, let's see, was it transmutase or cytokinase? It's like that doesn't, it's great for the scientists. Go listen to David, but you don't have to remember those facts because nobody's going to remember them anyway. So it's the stories, and it's the testimonials, and it's the emotion.
I think you can't say enough about learning the art of storytelling. And if you look back in history, pre-recorded history was all verbal. It was stories and lore and history passed down from generation to generation. It wasn't the written, history, it was the verbal history. And the best storytellers of all time, in the early days, Jesus went around telling stories. He taught with parables. He didn't teach, cosmic science, even though there's a lot of cosmic science behind what he taught. He taught in parables. So I learned years ago, one of my early mentors said, to be successful in network marketing, you must learn the art of storytelling. And if you get good at it, you'll be a very well-paid storyteller.
That's right. I remember, Gregory. Yes.
Yeah.
Have any of you ever heard a professional storyteller?
Yes.
Like Helen? Okay. Helen, there's a woman in Fort Collins that used to do it. And I can't remember her name. It was many years, 20 years ago or more. And she was hired to go to parties and tell stories. And I actually was at one of her, I was invited to something, and oh my gosh, people were on the edge of their seat. So that's an example. It's like people love to hear stories. So that's everyone's takeaway from today. And Ty, and please listen to Ty Bennett and Power Number 5. You will be very happy you did. He was extremely energetic and entertaining, and you'll take your business to the next level.
And I'm inspired. Some of you might remember that we had Jeannie, who's the director of communications for Lifewave. She got 16 Emmys as a newscaster. So master storyteller. That's how you win Emmys. And she came on and did a training about 6 months ago. And when we were doing conference calls, and she had a slide deck, but we weren't doing Zoom. So I think we should invite her back and to teach us her perspective in the fine art of storytelling. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking the art of storytelling is when you can paint the picture.
Right.
So you're bringing in the emotions, the memories, inspiring. But speaking of that, imagine going through being stuck in your house since March, mostly, and especially in Colorado where you can't even get outside, and thriving in your business.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah.
I'm so grateful, you guys. I love us. One of us. Thank you for being you and part of the party. Right, Robin? The one that's having the most fun wins.
That's it. Well, we're almost the bottom of the hour. We try and keep these calls around 20, 30 minutes. Any other final comments on the fine art of storytelling, or, any of Ty's teachings?
When you watch Ty, he models everything he's telling you all the way through. And maybe 10 or 15 minutes through, he'll say, "Did you see I did that since we've started?"
Right.
And like the second time and third time you watch, it's like, yep, you did it there and you did it there. Cause it's like, so imagine, and he just keeps drawing you in as he's telling the story.
Nice.
And what was the one he said? Oh, whoever has the best story wins.
Yes.
Awesome.
Great. And we have so many stories. Imagine waking up every morning to miracle stories, which we all do. It's like, this is just a blessed business. It really is. Yeah. And what a blessed community too. Thank you, everyone.
Gregory.
Thank you.
Gregory, could I ask you, what was that anchor lady's name again that you spoke
Her name
about?
is Jeannie, and I forgot Jeannie's last name. Does anybody remember? She works for Lifewave. She's manager or director of communications.
Rollins or something like that.
Rollins?
Rollins or something like that.
Yeah.
Rollins sounds right.
Yeah.
I just figured her out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you.
Jeannie Rowden.
You're welcome.
Rowden. R-A-W-D-I-N.
Rowden.
Rowden.
Okay, thank you.
And
Okay, good.
I've got her thing.
Yeah, so next Monday, we're going to have Ron Rabin, who's probably the fastest growing, most successful senior presidential in North America. Robin and I do more volume than him because he's in our group, but he makes more money than we do, okay? He's
Wow.
really got a fabulous group growing, and he's going to come on Monday and talk about the fine art of gifting and giving the gift of good health. So, so that'll be a fun one, but maybe the following Monday, we'll see, maybe we'll get Jeannie on, in the fine art of storytelling. Yeah.
Sweet.
Another one, his book, plug, shameless plug. You can't see that because of the background. There it is. The Power of Storytelling. If you go to his website, you can get a digital copy.
Oh, nice.
And I
And I
can't
think,
see the website.
Wendy, I think it's thepowerofstorytelling.com, right? Or
That sounds right. Mine printed in a funky color because it's a link.
okay.
That sounds right. I can find it.
Okay.
And part of my problem is I wrote a book about my experience and how do you shrink 300 pages into 45 seconds?
Let's see.
You know what I mean? Yeah, there's so much in my story that I wrote for other people. To shrink it to 45 seconds has been kind of hard.
Yeah.
Been kind of tough.
Well, that's the fine art of storytelling, and you got to give it in bite-sized pieces. You can't deliver the whole load all at once.
Can't vomit all over them.
And they'll choke.
So that website, I found it, is just powerofstorytelling.com. And you can get a free digital copy.
Well, I'll do that as soon as we get off. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
And my homework is I'm going to go listen to Ty today. Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah. Really looking forward to it. Okay.
And next week's even more fun.
Oh, we have, what's his name? Van or
Ving
or
Ving Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
On The Voice.
Yeah, he's another fun one.
He is fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Helen and Tim, for your suggestion to do this Empower series. This is really fun and inspiring. And this is really world-class teaching and training that we've got thanks to, the generosity and commitment of Lifewave. And I think this is really a Jim's, our VP of marketing, Jim's idea, to bring that all together. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
And you get to see Phil every week.
That's right. I'm sure it wasn't cheap. I guarantee that, this was not an inexpensive program for them to put together.
Right.
Sure it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one to watch over and over again for sure.
Yeah. Good call, Helen. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm glad we're all doing it together.
Okay. Well, let's all pray for rain and snow in Colorado.
Yes.
Absolutely. You can have ours. It rained all day yesterday.
Well, it's coming today.
I kept trying to push it to Colorado because it was 40 degrees here. And today it's going to be 75.
And here's a glimpse of my.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, awesome.
Gregory. Wow.
It snowed.
That's Montana.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's coming your way, Colorado.
Yay.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
All right. See you
All
all.
right.
Have a beautiful day.
Much
Bye,
love to
everybody.
everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Woohoo. Can I change this?